Коли ми продовжуємо робочий день у прес-центрі Українського кризового медіа.
We continue our working day. Now the floor is given to Ministry of Defense of Ukraine spokesman and NATO-related issues, Colonel Oleksandr Motuzyanyk, with information about the events in the east of Ukraine. Welcome on stage. Good afternoon, everyone. Now the information about the main events that happened yesterday in the ATO zone. The Lugansk sector yesterday, there were 2 enemy shellings. During night, the enemy opened fire with the use of mortars of 120mm of caliber in Krymska, and in the evening used small arms and grenade launchers near railway station Donetsk. The Donetsk sector, yesterday, the situation was the most tense, and despite announced ceasefire, the enemy shelled actively positions of the armed forces of Ukraine with the use of mortars of 82 and 120mm of caliber. And Avdiivka and Shakhta Butovka and Piski came under enemy fire. And the positions in Avdiivka, starting afternoon till midnight, were under constant shelling of Russian occupation forces. During this time, the occupants delivered 3 mortar shellings, and 3 more were near positions of Shakhta Butovka in the region of Piski. The enemy used predominantly small arms, and once they opened fire with the use of mortars of 82mm of caliber. And at noon, the occupants opened short-term mortar fire to residential quarters of Novgorodska, and in Gorlovka perimeter, the militants delivered fire with the use of small arms, and in the region of Svetlodarsk Bulge, it was calm yesterday. On the whole, during the last 24 hours in the Donetsk sector, there were 19 enemy shellings, including 7 with the use of heavy weapons. The Mariupol sector, as previously, the majority of violations of ceasefire are in Pavlopil, Shirokina part of front line. And yesterday, the enemy didn't use heavy weapons in this area. And in Shirokina and Vodyane, the occupants used the weaponry of APCs. And near Gnutova, they delivered fire. There was sniper fire recorded. And mortar shelling was recorded near Berezova. And in Marianka, in the course of enemy shelling, 15-year-old teenager was wounded. He lives in the eastern suburbs of the town. And in the Mariupol sector, during the last 24 hours, there were 27 shellings delivered by the enemy. During the last 24 hours, in the result of the military actions, unfortunately, 2 Ukrainian servicemen were killed and 5 servicemen were wounded. Moreover, in main military clinical center, and 1 serviceman died who was wounded heavily on the 2nd of March in the region of Avdiivka. Our hearts go out to the relatives of the serviceman who died. Yesterday in the morning in Verkhnyataretsk, a tractor trapped a mine in the field, and in the result, the vehicle was destroyed and the driver was wounded. In the region of ATO, SBU found 2 caches of ammunition. And near abandoned tire repair plant in Marianka, that is in the Nyechina, law enforcers confiscated a Kalashnikov gun, 2 anti-tank mines with detonators, 14 grenades of 1, and about 3,500 cartridges of different caliber. In the forest line in the suburbs of Pervomaisky Sinovaty region of the Nyechina, law enforcers found 3 gunpowder charges, 2 tank projectiles and grenade launcher RPG 22, and 400 cartridges of different caliber. And 1 more former militant returned to peaceful life through SBU program that is called They Wait For You Back Home. Resident of Selidivsky region of the Donetsk Oblast in November 2016 joined the militants of DPR. And he was responsible for the work with personnel, and he got disillusioned in the ideas of so-called Novorossiya, and in January 2017 he fled the militants. And in the social media, the man found information about SBU program, and he overcame his fear and addressed law enforcers. And these days, SBU officers established an attempt of recruitment of one person from Luganshina by Russian special forces. Law enforcers established that this Ukrainian came in sight of Russian special services at the end of 2016, where he was employed illegally at one of the enterprises. And it was used to force him to cooperate, to harm the interests of national security of Ukraine. And after recruitment, the special service officer ordered him to collect information about deployment of positions and number of personnel and weaponry and military equipment of detachment of the armed forces of Ukraine that are in the region of Lysychansk. And for this work, FSB guaranteed this man to help with documents to be legally employed in Russia. And after the man came back to Ukraine, he addressed SBU immediately and said about the conditions in which he was recruited by Russian special services. And because he voluntarily informed the special services about this event, he was released from criminal responsibility. And lastly, in Mykolaiv multi-service training center, there were joint trainings of divisions of detached artillery brigades and tank company and what of mechanized infantry brigades. The gunmen had live fire training and improved the algorithm of actions in battle conditions. And at the same time, the tankmen were trained how to mask their equipment in defense, and also they trained battle efficiency and capability that will be in the same firing ground in the nearest future. This is all for now. Do you have questions? Thank you. No questions. Thank you.
Наступний брифінг.
Our next event about situation in the ATO zone is at 12:30 tomorrow.